So let's talk about creatine today. I get a lot of questions about creatine and whether it is great for us in menopause. Some of the questions I get are: is creatine a steroid? Is it going to make me bulk up? Am I going to get bloated? Before we answer all those questions, let's first of all answer: what's creatine? What does it do for the body? And is it good for us in menopause? Creatine is a natural amino acid. That means that our body makes it naturally from the food that we eat. We make about 1 gram of creatine per day, and that's made from the liver, the kidneys, and the pancreas. And we get it from our foods. The foods that are very high in creatine are things like red meat, pork. You also have fish, herring, which is the main ones are herring, salmon, and tuna. Chicken and turkey also provide creatine, but not as much as red meat and not as much as pork. So we make about 1 gram each day. Now, creatine is then used by our muscles. It's stored mostly in the muscles and a little bit of it in the brain, but mostly we use it in the muscles. So what does it do for us? Creatine, first of all, I should say, is one of the most studied supplements. I don't think there's anything else that as a supplement that has been studied that much. Now, creatine, as we make 1 gram, women store less than men. That means that men have higher storage levels always, and that's why we find that they have more energy, because creatine is used by our body to create energy. So it's used to create the energy not only that we need for our daily activities, but also mostly for our daily workouts. And that's why most probably for women, creatine really shows great benefits. It's also been shown that it is most beneficial for women in instances where our body is going through very drastic hormonal shifts, like when somebody is having their periods, or when women are in menopause, because that's when we have those very dramatic shifts in our hormonal levels. So what's the creatine used for? Number one, as I said, it's used for energy in the muscles. When we make it or we take it as a supplement, our body uses then that to create energy. It also helps to create energy for higher workloads when we're working out. So not only energy when you're working out, but it helps you get into higher workloads. Also, creatine helps us to recover, not only from injury, but also from exercise. So, you know that soreness that you get after exercise, creatine helps us to avoid that, and it helps us to recover faster. Creatine is also used by the brain, and as I said, some of it is stored in the brain, because creatine can bypass what's known as the brain blood barrier so that it can be used in the brain. But it doesn't get too much, but it is used, one, for improving cognitive health. It's also used for memory and also for moods. Then it is also used in our gut, especially in the lining of the gut, and our body also uses it to prevent or to reduce the protein breakdown. So when you exercise, when you do anything heavy, your protein is broken down. We do need that protein for our muscle. So creatine helps us to reduce that breakdown of protein. It's also an anti-inflammatory. It helps us a lot to avoid inflamed joints, inflamed muscles, inflamed tendons. And also, it helps to combat muscle loss. Now, because it helps to combat muscle loss, this is what happens in menopause. As estrogen is declining, we lose muscle mass. And that's also made worse because we are also having what's known as age-related sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is muscle loss. Now, not even counting for menopause or hormonal decline, as we age naturally, we lose muscle mass. We build most of our muscles in our younger age, but when we are getting older, we lose muscle mass. So creatine not only helps us to combat the muscle loss that we get from menopause and declining estrogen, it also helps us to combat the muscle loss that we get from sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. Now, because creatine helps us to combat muscle loss, it also means that it helps us in our metabolic health, because that lean muscle is what we want to be able to move that glucose very quickly out of the blood so that it is used by by muscle. Remember, muscle is very expensive to maintain. It uses a lot of our glucose, which is not a bad thing. That's what we want. We want all that glucose not to stay around, roaming around in the blood, which ends up into other problems, but we want that glucose to be shunted into the muscles very quickly so that our muscles can use it. And that's what creatine helps us, because it helps us build muscle and also not lose muscle. Now, in helping to combat muscle, it also indirectly helps us to preserve bone health, because as we are losing muscle, we are also losing bone. Muscle is what helps to keep bone density, because our bones relies on that contraction of the muscles to get the load that they need so that they can stay healthy. And that's why we lift heavy. We lift heavy so that we can get that contraction of the muscles, build bigger muscles, so that that can then help us to combat bone loss. So all these are things that creatine helps, and it's actually, when you look at it and when you think of all the things that happen in menopause, when estrogen and progesterone get out, when they leave the room, all these things start to happen. Our muscle, we lose bone density, we lose our metabolic health because we don't have enough muscle. We're having brain problems. All these things that are happening due to menopause, creatine is kind of coming in and filling in those gaps. Now, I don't want to say that creatine is going to give you 100% what you're losing from estrogen leaving the picture, but it does help. Every bit in menopause helps. We want anything that's even giving us that very tiny advantage. So, does that answer your question? Is creatine good for us in menopause? Of course it is. And as I said, creatine is one of the most studied supplements. It is safe. It has been studied, and the evidence is there showing that it does benefit us in menopause. Now, what do you want as creatine? You want to keep it very, very simple. The most studied, the most common creatine is what's known as creatine monohydrate. You don't need to go for anything else that has been mixed with anything else, because you don't need anything else. You just need that creatine monohydrate, and it is sold as creatine monohydrate. Make sure that you're getting a pure creatine. I have one here. I'm not selling for this company, but I use one from the company called Thorne. And one of the reasons why I like Thorne is that their supplements are third-party tested. What does that mean? That it means that the company that makes the supplement also has somebody else check their supplement that's not involved in the company at all, so that they can be unbiased about the recommendation they're giving. So third-party tested means that it has been tested by somebody else who is not the company that is making it. That's what we want. We want pure creatine. How much can you start with? You can start anywhere from 3 grams to 5 grams. I don't even ask people to go more than 5 grams. Start out with 3 to 5 grams and see how it works for you. Most of the creatines will come with a scoop, and that scoop is about 5 grams. So you can start with that. Now, if you do find that it is giving you a little bit of indigestion or bloating, or your gut doesn't feel so well, maybe start with a little bit less. Maybe you can start with 2.5 grams, half of the scoop, and then increase it as you go on. You can also divide them into two. You can have 2.5 in the morning, 2.5 in the afternoon. The only one thing that you need to note is that creatine is not very stable in water for extended periods. So you don't want to put it in water and then drink it in the afternoon. If you put it in water in the morning, you want to take it within half an hour. You can't then put it in somewhere and then you'll take that in the afternoon. No, it's not very stable in water, and that's why it's actually not sold in a liquid. So if you put it in water, you want to then take it within the half hour, then you can mix another lot in the afternoon. I like to put mine in my protein shake after I have done my workouts. That's where I use my creatine, and I just use the 5 grams. It doesn't bother me at all. Some people will go higher, and that higher amount has been shown to be beneficial for brain health, but hey, just use 5 grams, you will be fine. Now, as with every other supplement, before you take a supplement, if you have any issues, especially if you have kidney issues, you have to check with your doctor. And when you check with your doctor, what they will do is a test to make sure that you can be able to take creatine without kind of overloading your kidneys. Then Take it in water and drink plenty of water when you take creatine so you don't get that bloaty feeling. You need to drink water. In any case, you're supposed to be drinking enough water. Now, how long does it take for you to see any kind of results? I would say anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, you'll begin to notice the changes that creatine is bringing. So, does that answer your question? Is creatine a steroid? No, it's not. Will it make you bulk up? No, it won't. Will it bloat you? It might bloat you fast if you're not used to it. But then if you drink enough water and if you take it slowly, you'll be fine. So now, if you like this information, subscribe to my channel because I will be putting more information here on menopausal health. The button to subscribe is down below, and also you can also tick that bell so that you're notified when I post something new. Subscribe to the channel and also pass this information to other people. Take care.